Dear students, explanation time. Class, please open your novel, page number 16, chapter 4. Is the prince mad? All of you sit quietly and listen the explanation. Soon I shall die. King Henry looked thoughtful and worried. Then he turned to his servants. Listen, all of you. The prince is ill because he has been studying too hard. He will soon be well again, and ill or well, he is my dear son. And I am old and sick. I feel weak, and my old heart is tired. Soon I shall die, and my son will be king of England. His face was grey and tired. Then suddenly King Henry sat up very straight. Lord Hertford, he shouted. A tall gentleman came forward. He was Prince Edward's uncle. But of course, poor Tom did not know that. Lord Hertford, said the king, very soon I shall die, and my dear son Edward must be crowned King of England. You must start getting everything ready for the coronation in my great church at Westminster Abbey. It must be a happy coronation. There must be music and feasting, and soldiers marching and dancing in the streets of London. Tell them to start work at once. My lord, have you forgotten? asked Lord Hertford. Planning the coronation is Lord Norfolk's job, and you yourself threw him into prison. The king's face was dark with anger. Then cut off his head at once and get somebody else to arrange the coronation. Very well, my lord, said Lord Hertford sadly. I will give the orders. As Tom was led away, he thought sadly of Lord Norfolk. I don't know him, he thought, and I don't know what he has done wrong, but I feel sorry for him. He is a prisoner just like me. Yes, class 4. In the last chapter, chapter 3, we read how Edward was in trouble. He was out of the palace, and as he was wearing rags, nobody recognized him as a prince. Edward had become angry and tired. Meanwhile, Tom Canty, who exchanged his old torn clothes with Prince's beautiful silk dress, was enjoying himself, but he became worried when the prince did not return. He thought that if anybody saw him in Prince's clothes, using Prince's things, he would be arrested and would be punished. Soon Lady Jane Grey, she was Edward's cousin, arrived. She noticed that her cousin was not behaving well. Tom Canty told her that he was not the prince and he wanted to go back to his humble home. Lady Jane Grey rushed out of the room. She ran out of the room quickly and told everybody outside about her cousin's illness. The rumors quickly spread throughout the palace that the prince was mad. Rumors means any doubtful truth or gossip. Yes, class, King Henry ordered 2 gentlemen to fetch Tom. When Tom entered the room, he observed that King Henry was not as cruel as he thought. He talked to him politely and asked about his problem. But Tom again wished to go back to his home, to Fish Street. In this chapter, students, King Henry was upset and worried. He announced that his son's madness was only temporary. No one was allowed to speak about it. He ordered Lord Hertford, he was Edward's uncle, to start preparation for the coronation ceremony. Students, the ceremony in which the prince has to be crowned, or you can say to place a crown on the head of the prince to make him officially the king. Yes, class. Look, the coronation ceremony had to be held at Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey is the traditional place for the coronation ceremony. Lord Hertford informed the king that planning the coronation was Lord Norfolk's duty, and Lord Norfolk was in prison. The king sent him to the prison. King Henry became furious and ordered to kill Lord Norfolk and get somebody else to arrange the coronation. Tom was also listening all that. He did not know who was Lord Norfolk, but he was feeling sorry for him. Yes, class, next heading. England needs him. Later, Lord Hertford spoke to his friend Lord St. John. Lord Hertford, being the prince's uncle, loved the boy very much, and he was very worried and unhappy. "My poor nephew is mad," he said. "He has known me since he was a baby, but today he does not seem to recognize me at all. He does not seem to recognize anybody. He is like a stranger in a strange land. He does not know his way around the palace. He talks a lot of nonsense about beggars, and he says he wants to go home to his fish street. What can we do? His poor father will not live much longer, and then England will have a mad king." Lord St. John thought differently about the boy. Next page. Westminster Abbey, class. "I am not sure that he is mad. I agree that this boy does not recognize the king. He does not recognize us. He talks about paupers and fish street, and he asks to go home to his family. But that may not mean that he is mad. It may mean that he is telling the truth. Perhaps he is not the prince at all. Perhaps he really is a poor boy, and there has been a terrible mistake." "Don't say such things," said Lord Hertford. "What if the king hears you? And what is a poor boy doing wearing Prince Edward's clothes? No, this is Prince Edward, and he is out of his mind. Listen, my friend, the king has given orders about him. He says that the prince must not work or study too hard, and if at any time he behaves strangely, nobody must stare at him or say anything. Poor boy, I'm sure the king is right. The prince has been studying too hard. Too much Greek, Latin, and French are not good for a young boy. He needs a holiday. Let us hope that with good food and plenty of rest, he will soon be well again. England needs him." Yes, class 4. Later, Lord Hertford and St. John discussed about the situation. Lord Hertford was sad because the prince was his nephew and he loved him. But now the prince even didn't recognize him. Lord Hertford and St. John knew that the king was near death, and he would leave a mad boy on the throne of England. St. John suggested that Tom might not be mad, but a totally different boy. he might be speaking the truth. St. John believed that the boy was not mad. He really was a poor boy. There had been a terrible mistake. But Lord Hertford refused to accept his opinion. He said that his nephew, the prince, had studied hard. That's why he was behaving like that. He was not mad. Lord Hertford really loved his nephew. Dear students, I will complete the remaining explanation tomorrow. Till then, I suggest to listen this at least twice. Thank you.